Hi there. This is Billy Earl with Eastern Shore Politics. We are honored today to have the new councilperson from District 3, which happens to be where I live, Sharon Dashiell. Sharon, thank you so much for taking time from what must be just a very hectic schedule to join us.
Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
Thank you.
This is a
Thank
pleasure.
you. You're new to city government. I know in my district, we know a good bit about you because we did our homework, but others may not. Tell us a little bit about your background and your affiliation with the city of Salisbury, which goes back a long way.
It goes back a long way.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Salisbury. I went to James M. Bennett and graduated. I'll give you the whole timeline.
Okay.
Then I went to the University of Maryland, College Park,
I've heard of that.
and got an early childhood degree. I was one of the first, so I'm dating myself, in this area to have one. And then completed my master's at Salisbury University. Went on to get additional credits.
Okay.
And then I was hired as a kindergarten teacher, and I taught kindergarten for 32 years. 10 years or 11 years at West Salisbury, and then the remaining 20, 21, 22 at Prince Street Elementary.
Okay.
Then when I retired, I continued doing trainings around the state. I was hired as a consultant by the State Department of Education.
Okay.
And they had created a tool that they wanted all kindergarten teachers to use to evaluate the children for readiness.
Okay.
And so I was trained and also became a consultant trainer around the state for other public schools
Okay.
and Head Starts. And we did it for anybody that was interested. It was an observational tool, so it was extremely effective for all children. And it was age appropriate, developmentally appropriate, which we lose track of in the school system sometimes. So I did that for about 12 years. At the same time, I was supervising new interns for Salisbury University, wherever they had teachers that were in training in classrooms. And then I also, when I retired, took on a contractual job where I was a mentor coach for first-year teachers in Wicomico County. So I did that. So that 12-year period after I retired, that's what took that. That's
Well
what
done.
happened. So,
A life well lived.
well, it's been fun.
Do you miss teaching?
Oh, I miss the children.
Yeah.
I really miss the children. My greatest concern right now is when, again, in my opinion, those of you that know me know I have an opinion,
We like opinions.
when they made COVID, that was something very, it was a medical issue, obviously, but then it became political.
Mm-hmm.
And then closing the schools and not trying to figure out how to have our little ones in for social interaction. And they missed a lot. And those of you that are following any research now, it's not all in by a long shot, but it is an issue.
Yeah.
And we're now getting the ramifications of that.
There's a lag in the educational advancement of children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Reading and math particularly.
How do we fix that? Extra school time?
No, I think what we do, we allow the teachers who have their finger on the pulse
Mm-hmm.
as far as the ability of the children in their classroom, and we actually take the children where they are. So if they are a year behind, you have to try to play catch up.
Okay.
And people may not want to hear that because it's not moving forward with the plan of the curriculum. But I realize, since, especially for the little ones, I can't address anything. My early childhood is my background.
Yeah.
But catch them up. Figure out what they don't know. You can't have a second grader who doesn't know the letters of the alphabet.
Right.
And
right.
that's, a friend of mine has shared that with me. Doesn't know how to write her name, didn't know any of the letters of the alphabet
Wow.
last year after coming back. So teachers have a great finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And really concentrate on the social emotional pieces that were lost. And it will take time, but you filter it in with the classroom schedule that you normally do every day. It can be done with some guidance.
As a layperson, it is my observation that the political class, in a number of different ways, doesn't pay enough attention to the wisdom of teachers, their viewpoint, their opinions, what they think solutions are. And it manifests itself in, I think, one of the most ridiculous economic situations, and that's having teachers come out of their own pocket to buy things that they're using in their classroom. That's a ridiculous system. It's not as if there is that much excess income to be able to do it, but I think it sets a very poor precedent for what we think and how we value education. Does any of that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. I don't think teachers go into teaching for the money.
No.
I mean, now they do. You can choose to spend money, your own money, for your classroom, because then that becomes your identity, so to speak. It's where you live every day.
Right.
It becomes your world. But I really think that it's like any profession, you have to earn respect. But I also feel that you can't tie the hands of teachers and principals.
Right.
And right now, for various reasons, I feel that the principal's hands are tied, especially when it deals with behavior and discipline. No one's going to abuse these children.
Right.
And you also have parents who don't understand how they can do what might be best for their children.
Okay.
So it becomes a community effort where you get parents involved, help them learn how to be teachers and reinforcers. You have that team feeling with the classroom teacher and the parents, and if the child needs extra help, whether it be math, whether it be reading, behavior, work as a team. But you
Right.
have to then, okay, you asked, so here it goes. Then you open up the whole piece of transportation. So you have
Okay.
parents who don't have transportation to the schools.
Right.
You have a language barrier in some cases.
Right.
So you have to factor those pieces in. Parents, it broke my heart when I would have a parent conference, and this was years ago, and I would have to write a note for a parent to say they were in a parent conference. And I felt
Wow.
I felt awful for that.
Yeah.
It seemed so demeaning
Yes.
to have a slip of paper to give your boss because you were interested in your child.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of parents don't have that ability to come in. I don't think that the teachers and the principals are given the authority, not the bullying, because bullying, therein lies another issue.
Yeah.
But you have to really consider the environment in the classroom now, and it's very different from what it was years ago. And you have to play catch-up in a lot of ways, from COVID, educationally, behavior problems that seem to be more prevalent now, and figure out as a team how to deal with that.
Interesting.
I don't have the answers. I just have, ideas.
We start with the questions.
Yes, right.
We start with the questions,
Right.
and then we seek the truth.
Right.
Tell me what the timeline was when you woke up one morning and said, "I want to be on the city council."
Do you really want the answer?
I want absolute truth.
48 hours before the deadline for filing.
Okay, last minute.
Only because I thought I was getting on my own nerves. I did not feel like I was an informed citizen.
Okay.
I hadn't participated. Somewhere along the line, I had lost track of a lot of things that were happening in Salisbury.
Okay.
And I wasn't alone. My neighbors, my
Right.
friends, everybody is in huge uproar about various things. For instance, the jut-out concrete obstructions in all the streets. That pretty much tipped it. And then a dip in my street. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to bore you with it. It's old news. And I thought, okay, Sharon, you were not raised to not have an opinion.
Right.
Our parents raised all four of us to say what we thought and try to be part of solutions instead of the problem.
Okay.
And,
Good advice.
And when and you offer compliments where they're due, and you offer criticisms with hopefully an answer or a possible solution.
Right.
Idealistic, but that's the way we were raised. So anyway, 48 hours before the filing deadline, I was on the phone with someone, and we were talking about who was running for the council seats, and they said, well, your district is the only one that's unopposed.
Right. Right. Right.
And so I unfortunately said, "Oh, maybe I should run for that."
Yeah.
Why not?
Por qué no?
Oh, why not? So I filed. I the first two people I called were my brothers
Yeah.
to see what their input was, and they said, "Sharon, go for it.
Good.
You'd be good at it, and we're both here if you need us to help you in any way, shape, or form."
Okay.
And so I filed at 3:10, and the deadline was 4:30.
Okay.
So
Better late than never.
right,
Better
right,
late than
right,
never. Yeah, there is a groundswell of concern about the role and the functioning of city government. On the campaign trail, I think I came across it quite a bit. But not that many people said, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to be part of the solution. I'm not going to just get on Facebook, and whine. It's unfortunately that's endemic to our society today. So there you are. You're now in the race, and I believe somebody dropped out. Somebody said they weren't going to campaign.
It was interesting. When I filed, I thought I was going to be running against Megan Alton. And between my filing and the deadline, Mayor Heath had decided not to run again. Megan had decided to put her hat in the ring for mayor. And the woman that had filed to run against or run for the 3rd district filed late as well, is my understanding. And I did not know her, and so I thought, well, good. This gives people two choices.
Right,
This
yeah.
is, to me, that's what it should be at least. So anyway, as things progressed, about a couple weeks, 2 weeks later, whatever,
Yeah.
my opponent had said on Facebook that she was no longer going to
Not going to campaign.
campaign, and so that was her choice, but she'd missed the deadline to withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
And then about, I guess 3 or 4, it was a real quick turnaround between filing and actually the election. I thought it was very quick. It was 8 or 10 weeks, I guess. And then probably 3 or 4 weeks before the election, there was a write-in.
Right.
And so there were actually 3 of us for District 3. So in all different categories, so to speak. I had filed, Joan had filed but wasn't running, and then John, who was a write-in.
Uh-huh.
So voters had a choice. So it was
Absolutely.
nice. It was nice.
Do you know all these people?
No.
Okay.
The first time I met John, I met him at the NAACP forum,
Right.
and I never had the opportunity to meet Joan.
Okay. Fascinating the way it came about. Have you ever worked in a campaign before?
Yes.
Okay, so you had a working knowledge of the mechanics of how a campaign on a city level works?
Not a lot of knowledge.
Okay.
In other words, my job, as far as when you say campaigning, was usually signs and going door to door when either of my brothers were running.
Both of those work.
And that's all I knew about it.
Both of those work. The sign part of this was really kind of interesting because I remember the first time that I became aware of Randy Taylor, it was because of the drive down Camden. And all of a sudden I saw a whole bunch of signs. And I did see some Megan signs, but they were greatly outnumbered. Yeah. And I thought, wow, okay, this is interesting. So I invited him and Jermichael and Megan to come and discuss their platforms here. She decided not to respond, but the other two did, and we had a lively session, I think, of interchange about some of the issues, and it was amazing to me because many of the concerns that Jermichael had were the same ones that Randy had. Concerned citizens worried about the management of the city at a time when can't really afford that. Can't really afford lack of leadership or crisis management. And I just do want to say that thoughts and prayers go to Jack Heath. I've known Jack a good bit of time, and I find him to be just a wonderful, wonderful person and a terrific leader for Salisbury. And I hope that everything comes out okay.
Absolutely.
So here you are. Now you're going door to door, which can be a daunting task because you never know when somebody opens that door where they're going to come from and what their experiential and knowledge and factual base will be.
Right.
Because it's not always exactly there.
Right.
It's very much an opinion poll. Any great stories from the campaign trail? Did anybody throw Kool-Aid on you, or did you have an interesting discussion with somebody in particular?
Keep in mind, I taught kindergarten.
Perfect training, right?
Prepared me for a lot.
Perfect training.
Door to door, I pride myself. Sometimes it may be to the detriment, but I pride myself in never meeting a stranger.
Okay.
And because of that, when people, I didn't really have people that shut the door. I had people that asked, how I felt about something.
Right.
And that was a test on your feet to answer them honestly.
Yeah.
And also to try to inform them. I did not ask them if they were going to vote. I
Right.
just asked them to please vote if
Okay.
they would and consider me when they voted.
That-
But my biggest concern, which is shocking, my mother worked the polls for eons.
Okay.
And she came home, I can remember when the last time she was working the polls. And she and Daddy walked in the door, and she said, I cannot believe only 30% of the people voted. And
Yeah.
17%,
I know.
Billy, voted. 17.6, or is it 16.6? I think it's 17.6 in the last election.
Yep.
And in our district, 700 people out of 700 plus, maybe 713, out of 3,200
I know.
registered voters registered in the last election. So anytime I could get out there and say, please vote, and I had a Facebook page only for the election, and I said, if you vote for me, great. If you don't, just vote. Let's bring that 700 up. And I think it ended up being close, almost 900 maybe
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah, it was.
So that was a great coup. That was wonderful.
It was. And there has to be some movement by the powers that be that help people vote more often than they do. I know what the critical problem that I think is going to be faced is many people don't feel, and I think this is absolutely incorrect, that local government doesn't have as much impact on their life as a national race or a state race or some race that has far greater media content or more advertising or more clicks. When I think in truth, the average person is impacted a great deal more by local politics than they are by anything that happens in the White House or in Annapolis. But that's not a majority opinion. That's a minority opinion, and changing that, there's got to be some GOTV, get out the vote movement on behalf of local government, or I would like to see it anyway, to help people become more comfortable with voting and to actually do it.
Part of that comes from trust in your elected officials.
Yep.
The other piece is the lack of communication.
Yep.
If they don't feel they're a part of anything, then why bother?
I get it.
And I think the answer to that could possibly be to draw the people in to make them feel comfortable. Because no one wants to venture into a situation where they don't have a comfort level.
True.
In all
True.
honesty. And that has nothing to do with education, where you live, or anything else. That's just
Okay.
a reality. So the purpose would be for someone to address what you're suggesting would be create opportunities. And face-to-face, I mean, I'm not a big fan. I understand the advantages of social media,
Right.
and I use them, but you can't beat face-to-face.
No, you can't.
You just can't do it. So it means somebody's going to have to put out some effort
Okay.
on
Well,
both sides.
I can say that here at PAC 14, under the leadership of Tom, We certainly would like to offer to all of the sitting council member the opportunity to come on in a consistent manner and talk about what's going on and talking about what they're doing and talking about how people out there can be helpful, how they can engage, how they can gain a comfort level. So we hope that you are a frequent visitor
I'm happy to take you
Eastern
up on
Shore
that.
Politics. We and of course it goes on YouTube, and then people can watch it whenever
Perfect.
they want. So it can be a win-win for everybody as long as we do what it's not always the case in media content that we don't treat our viewers as sub-intelligent beings, that we give them food for thought that is meaningful, and we let them engage and we let them become part of the conversation. Too many television shows preach, blah 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 blah. I'm here, I'm left, I'm right, I'm this, and blah. But conversational politics. I know that here we are on the cusp of the holiday season, and people always say, at the dinner table, don't talk politics and don't talk religion. And that's probably a good rule. I don't particularly care for it because I
agree.
like to talk about both of those things.
Right.
But truth and point is maybe we've gotten a little thin-skinned. Maybe.
Possibly, and everything's, well, this comes from the national level. Let's be honest. When you talked about local,
Yeah.
you have the national, then you have the state, then you have the local. But when there's nothing but divisiveness everywhere,
Everywhere.
and it's become so partisan,
Yeah.
and the mayoral race and the city council race was not supposed to be hinged on
Wasn't supposed
party,
to be.
but
Wasn't-
it was.
Oh, yeah.
And that's unfortunate. And you get into, when that happens, when you're talking about the dinner table, why can't I agree to disagree with you?
Right.
I'm happy with that.
Why not?
Exactly. You don't have to always be right, Billy. I can be right.
I don't know. I'll challenge you on that point, but
Not necessarily.
my wife says that I have no business trying to be right all the time because she is right all the time, and we don't always agree. And she's right, of course.
I have a quote. I have a quote for you, Linda. I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
I'm going to hear that.
But I would love to take advantage of that offer.
Wonderful.
Because if this is 4 years, I have to get my feet wet. I have no idea what I'm getting into. I got into this because I don't know anything.
Okay.
And that is not encouraging for those of you that voted for me. I apologize. But I'm willing to learn, and I'm a team player.
Right. Well, all evidence to the contrary regarding your interest and knowledge in local government. Let me raise up a somewhat sore point that is a sore point for me. There were things said in this race that I found highly, highly distasteful. They were things that were not true. The people who said them knew they were not true, and yet they did it because I think they were somewhat desperate, didn't know what else to do. It was like amateur hour at a frightening level. And I hope we don't see this anymore. I think that one of the lessons from this race was that those of you who threw bombs and said things about people that were absolutely unfactual and untrue, and you did it almost with a sense of righteousness that you were representing the good and they represented the bad. That's not the way real life works. And to go out and to misstate material facts on this, there certainly are two areas in the area of law. One would be defamation, the other would be tortious business interference. You better watch it, because one of these days it's going to come back and bite you if you play so loosely with the truth. Okay, that's my commercial. Tell me what the next step for you is. When will be the first meeting, first council meeting, where you'll actually get in there and be one of the leaders of the community?
The first meeting is next Monday,
Okay.
27th, and I'm going to listen because I need to catch up. We're
Okay.
talking about the educational system.
Yeah.
I need to catch up.
Okay.
I don't have the answers. I just have some ideas, hopefully fresh. I'd like to be the voice of reason And
I suspect you will.
common sense is a big thing with me.
Yeah.
Takes you pretty far in life.
Yes, it does.
But it's the 27th, and then I'm going to leave that night because I'm leaving for California on the 28th.
Okay.
For my nephew's wedding in California, so I'm thrilled
Wonderful.
about that. So I probably will take a couple of months to get my feet wet and to understand the lay of the land. And I have a whole list of questions that I hope I'll be able to ask and get some answers. And then I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but I
Right.
would like to take you up on your offer to come on your show. I also, Megan felt very strongly about the Newton Street Center.
Okay.
Having that going, and I spoke with her after the election, and I said, I'm happy to take the lead on that, but if you would like to continue
Right.
with that would be great. We can work together on that. And
Well done.
I have promised another gentleman at the college. I live near the college, so that
Yeah.
in itself has its own dynamics and
Oh, yeah.
concerns and challenges. And I spoke with a professor there, and he said I suggested, well, let's get together. He was not happy with something that happened as follow-up from the city.
Okay.
And I said, okay, why can't we have a roundtable discussion and start something like that? So those are the two things that I am thinking about, making sure that there's a focus on those and just kind of move forward because I have time. Even though I'm retired, I'm involved in a lot of other things. I
get
plan to make that. I don't sign up for something and do it halfway. Let me put it that way.
Excellent. And don't forget about the raging grass issue that has embroiled Harbor Pointy, where we live, involving a young man named Christopher Wood, who's a wonderful human being and wants the best for his lawn. And that's all he's looking for in life.
I don't know. That's not my area of expertise, nor is that. I don't know if that's in my purview, but I think that you have we have a new person that's overseeing housing, and hopefully that will take care of that.
Hopefully that'll get taken care
Right.
of. Okay. Sharon, I really want to thank you for coming in, for being so forthright. That kind of honesty and forthrightness is a welcome change in politics. In a world where you ask a person A and they give you B because B fits their narrative, I suspect that you are not like that at all, and we as voters appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate that support more than I can say, for the plain and simple reason that's how I operate.
Well, I think we need to start talking about the Sharon Show on an ongoing basis.
May I do one plug?
Yes.
One quick plug. I'm very involved with the cold weather shelter, and we have 32 homeless men, and we are behind the Seventh-day Adventist Church in their community hall. But please go on Google Hands and Hearts Shelter.org and help us make this a wonderful event. Not event, but a ministry. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well done. Okay, folks, you can see this on PAC 14. You can see this on the PAC 14 YouTube channel, and you can see it on Eastern Shore Politics on YouTube, too. We'd like to say thank you for viewing, and please let us know how you like the show. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on Instagram. Thanks again. Namaste.
Namaste.